Good evening. Mr. Wangchuk has mercifully agreed to call off his fast, provided the government accepts his, as far as I can see, his very puny and trivial demand that no action will be taken by the government against these children and young people who have been protesting against definite police brutality for the last few days in Jantar Mantar and adjacent areas. Now, this demand is a very small, tiny demand, and this government should not become adamant. It should not, dig in its heels, and on the contrary, it should show some magnanimity. It must show some little kindness and appreciation for the fact that a middle-aged scientist, educationist, has put his life on the line in order to get the education system in this country sorted out. Now, there is a background to these prolonged fasts. You can do a prolonged fast for let's say 21 days, even 31 days, even 44 days. There are case reports of people surviving 44 days fasts and even 31-day fasts and 21 days fasts. There are these excellent papers in Nature and other medical journals which provide us the biochemical information when people do these prolonged fasts. For example, in Nature, that is one of the top medical journals, one of the top science journals, 2 years back there was a paper published which told us that about 13 Chinese individuals of a mean age of 40 years fasted for 21 days and they could manage this as long as they drank water. The fact was that they did lose their weight by about 15%, their blood pressure dropped by 20%, and their ketone blood level went up from 0.1 millimoles to 6 millimoles. So this is now very clear that the body switches on to extracting energy from the body's fat reserves, and therefore the ketones level go up. But this is a physiological thing and is not harmful to the body. And obviously the ketones would be found in the urine also. Now, there is a background to this, and I cannot help but remind you that Mahatma Gandhiji did the same thing more than a century back. In 1924, yes, 1924, he did a 21 days fast for, you won't believe this, for the unity of Hindus and Muslims. Now this sounds very strange in current India, but definitely this was a very laudable act and something which must be appreciated immensely by people in our country. After that, Gandhiji did another long fast in 1933, wherein he did this fast in support of Dalits and Harijans, which again was a very laudable piece of action. And this fast also lasted for 21 days. And then his third long fast was in 1943. This was during the Quit India movement, when Gandhiji himself was incarcerated in a jail. Along with him, Nehru, Patel and Maulana Azad were also put in jail, and along with them thousands of Congress workers were also jailed by the British. And Gandhiji's demand was that his detention was without a trial, and therefore technically and even by common sense quite illogical and actually illegal. However, the English took little notice, but there is a funny angle to this. Churchill somehow was very perplexed as to how did Gandhiji survive this 21-day fast, because remember, by now Gandhiji was 74 years old, which is quite old. So Churchill has written this in his biography also, that he strongly suspected that Gandhiji took glucose in his water during this fast, but of course there is absolutely no evidence to this fact. So we come back to history. We know that Gandhiji did multiple fasts in his career, and these 3 fasts I have mentioned, because these were the long 21-day fasts done for, first, Hindu-Muslim unity, second, done for the Dalits, and third, for the illegal detention of himself and the other Congress leaders, along with the Congress workers, by the English without any trial. Now, there is another aspect to this. I hope to God that the government does not toy with the idea of forced feeding of Mr. Wangchuk, because it must be told to them that as per medical ethics, this would be considered a violation of the autonomy of the fasting person, and this is proscribed. That means it is prohibited by the World Medical Association, which is endorsed by the American Medical Association and the British Medical Association. So it is quite clear that all the big medical societies of the world, the big medical associations, are not in favor of force feeding a person who is fasting for a political objective, because it would be inhumane and would be an attack on the dignity of the fasting person. So therefore, it is a big no-no. I want to remind this as forcefully as possible to my colleagues in India, that force feeding, even if directed by the government of the day, is unethical and actually immoral. Apart from this, the only thing I can add now is that I had wished Mr. Wangchuk had a kind word for the doctors and nurses who looked after him in Safdarjung Hospital. And I must assure you, the public of India, because I belong to Delhi, because I have schooled in Delhi, I have colleged in Delhi, I have come out from Maulana Azad Medical College, I have done my post-graduation, I have done my DM in cardiology from the GB Pant Hospital, New Delhi, and I have worked as a consultant, as a senior consultant, in fact, as the head of Department of Cardiology of the Loya Hospital for more than a decade. So I can assure you, I can give you the most solid guarantee that there can never be a doubt on the professional caliber of government doctors. I'm sure that the doctors looking after Mr. Wangchuk in this private hospital in Gurgaon are equally professional and equally knowledgeable, but the fact remains that the doctors in the government hospitals in Delhi, especially the large hospitals like Loya Hospital and Safdarjung hospitals, are manned by doctors of impeccable integrity and professional competence, which is world standard. So a kind word for those doctors could be in order.